Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I am back to spend some time with Roxy's Journal of Stitchery field notes, and I'm going to be working with you today on the second piece I'm doing for the prompt of bird's nest and birds. In the previous episode I started to lay out my piece about the superb fairy wren, so I'll include a link back to that if you didn't get the chance to see it, and we will be coming back to work on that in another episode, but I'm just so excited to get going on this one. For those that have been following along for a while, you might have seen when I attended the amazing Fleur Woods retreat back in March this year and created this dimensional textural forest floor forest scene with little mushrooms or toadstools and mosses and lichens, those little sort of plate mushrooms or fungi, just all sorts of little clusters of eggs or insects. Just incredible texture. I just love how it's concave. It sits so beautifully in the hand, and I've subsequently created a smaller one, but I gifted that to my mum for Mother's Day. So I'm really excited to take some of the ideas from this, but bring it into a slow stitch piece. And so the other bird that I wanted to profile in my field notes is the rose robin, or the rose-breasted robin. So let me just grab out my phone and I'll just give you a look at a picture of a rose-breasted robin. So what I've noticed in the picture that I've printed, so this is an antique public domain image, it's probably coming out a bit more brown, but I'll definitely be bringing the sort of the grey into it. But the difference between the pink robin and the rose robin is the rose robin has a more red-pink breast and their underparts are white, while the pink robin's entire breast is pink. So this is how I know it's the rose robin, because it's got the under white. So that's the male and then that's the female. So it's often interesting in the birds, the males are the more sort of glamorous ones, I guess, because they've got to attract their mate. And so they can be found in the southeastern parts of Australia, which is where I am, and I have been lucky enough to see these in the bush. And the other reason I chose this one to profile is I just love how the nests are made with mosses and lichens. So the other thing I was going to show you, and if you've been watching my videos for a while, you will have seen when I go out on my wanders, I just love looking at fungi and all the mosses on all the logs, all those mushrooms, or what I call the sort of the plate fungi. So this one was made out of air dry clay. We might even have a play with that as part of this project. And so yeah, just beautiful, all the lichens, all the mosses, close up of those plate fungi, some more tree bark texture. So yeah, kind of nice to look at that and look at that. I'm planning to use some felting in this as well. So we'll be using, quite a few different techniques. There's Travis and Alex. There's Travis again, and Travis smiling, and Travis looking down. And then, some more of the beautiful, this one's almost quite sort of grassy, a bit more textural. And the lichens, which are a lighter sort of green. They almost remind me a little bit, although this is probably a little bit darker, but this was a hand-painted ribbon that I did, and then did some ribbon embroidery. And where you get the lichen and the others sort of coming together, that's another colour of it, a much more sort of compact. And then some brown plate fungi and some yellow. So just all the different colours. So I'll be kind of thinking about these colours as I work on this piece, and the shapes and the forms. It's like there's some little blue bits. I don't know if it's either this mushroom dropping these little bits out, or it might be some sort of insect, but they're quite a bright little blue little droplets, almost like sprinkles. Wouldn't eat them though. And some lichens upside down. And we've gone back the wrong way because we're upside down, aren't we? And that's the area we're walking in, beautiful walking track over a river. There's platypus in this river. if you're overseas and you haven't seen a platypus, look it up. They're an amazing creature. I believe when the explorers first came to Australia, they thought someone had actually like sewn different parts of an animal together because it just looked so unusual. A furry sort of body and then a big duck's bill. So look up the platypus if you haven't seen one. They're very hard to see in the wild because they're very sort of timid. And just, yeah, the vines and, yeah, another beautiful piece of the lichen. I think and then we're back to the mushrooms. So I think that's about it. More mushrooms. Oops, some more little toadstools. They are a bit cute. So it'd be nice to make some of those as well, whether I do them like with the wool or whether maybe I can have a go at making some of those sort of shape out of air dry clay. And we're now onto something else, framboise. So I'm going to have a sip of my tea. I've got a beautiful sort of Indian spiced tea. It's called Go Go Goa, I think it was, from T2 here in Melbourne. So plans for this piece is I have printed onto the fabric like I've been doing with my other pieces, this vintage antique image, public domain. I've made it smaller than the card piece that it will be mounted on because I want to be working on a mossy fungi border for it. So it will be around this size. I haven't worked out yet if the border is going to come all the way in and totally overlap or if it will just start to come part of the way in. Now I'm planning with this piece to do thread painting on the birds, to use thread painting but probably felting, similar to what I did, but different. And on this one I wanted it to be very sort of sleek and glistening like a petal on a tulip would be, and mixing all the beautiful lush colours together. And at the end I just gave it a quick little iron, which just helps to get all the fibres to lay nicely together. So felting is what I used on that, and I'm thinking I will use felting and adding other sort of textural pieces, whether it's bits of sort of eyelash yarn or cutting up and possibly dyeing bits of doily to be like the lichen, and felting and stitching and knots and little bits of thread. So that will be worked in there. Thinking of felting with some beautiful browns and also some stitching into for the branches. Probably thread painting the leaves, although maybe some felting as well. And possibly a little bit of felt introduced into the birds. So that will be one whole activity as part of this, but we're not going to do that today. I thought today we could work on the border. So what I'm planning to have is a border that goes all the way around. You won't be able to see all the bottom, but I've basically drawn on, as you stretch it in the box frame, it kind of goes a little bit squiffy, but that doesn't worry me because the idea will be anyway at the end kind of tuck any extra that's at the side over. And I kind of don't want the edges to be totally uniform anyway. So the cloth I'm using and the technique I'm using is something called punch needle. And I first started to do punch needle when I was with Fleur at the Fleur Woods retreat, and I've been subsequently playing with it. Fleur gifted us a punch needle adjustable tool, which gives you quite I guess it gives you more bobbly sort of because it's a bigger gauge one, so it's good to use with thicker wool. And then my dad got me some more monk's cloth, which is the cloth I'm using here from, I think he got it from China. I don't order from any of those Chinese websites, but I think that's where Dad got it for me for my birthday, as well as another little miniature punch needle tool, which is good for smaller form. And I was really lucky when I went to the D-stash at the Embroiderers Guild of Victoria. I got so much beautiful green. I don't even know if it's a wool or if it's a sort of a cotton wool, but it's a lovely twisted yarn, and so that's what I've been using down here. So my idea is that the borders will all be first of all punch needled, and then I'll be adding additional textures to them. So just looking for something that I did have. There we go. So I've got things like this which I was starting to make as I was working on other texture pieces. This is just a piece of woven fabric from the reverse art truck, which I then sort of took the fibres out of to get a fringy sort of edge, and then I folded over the woven bit and put, I think it's got a piece of wire or something, so it's sort of mouldable into a textural shape. And I'm thinking something like this, once I've done some more punch needling, will actually probably sit across the top or sort of twisting up from here, because this reminds me, and you can't actually see that, this reminds me of lichens and things like that. So they're the sorts of textural pieces. Also thinking about whether I can add pieces that are like those mushrooms or fungi that nestle into it. As I say, also thinking about whether I want to make some textural pieces using air dry clay, but also using little laces, stitches, knots, trims, etc. As I say, this sort of stuff could be absolutely fabulous to stitch in and cluster. So really, when we made this piece, we just started by doing a bunch of punch needling into monk's cloth, and then mounting it on wool. So it will be a bit of a multi-stage process. First one will be to create the border, and then secondly, I'll then probably cut away the interior, fold the monk's cloth over, sew the edges, because it is a very fray fabric, so you don't want to kind of leave raw edges with it. And so I'm thinking I'll fold, cut in and fold these under, and then this will actually sit underneath and be sort of, beneath it. And then I'll mount the monk's cloth plus this onto wool, and that's what I'll stitch into and do my embroidery into, because the wool's then a good substance to both do that more detailed stitching into, but also if I want to do felting, I'll want a sort of a wool blanket under it. So this is just an old utilitarian one I picked up from an op shop that I think was someone's Cub Scout blanket. They probably didn't like it, probably thought it was quite scratchy for camp, but it's got a new life with me. So that's enough talking. I figured I would show you in case you haven't played with punch needling before, and I'm not an expert, I'm just playing around different fibres. Most of my wools and things are just secondhand wools from the op shop, or from the D-stash at the Embroiderers Guild. I think they've got one coming up next weekend actually as well, which could be exciting to go to. Not that I really need to. So I'm doing a border up here, which will then come round. So I've done this little area down here in a sort of a browny thread actually. It's more like this. And I did that one actually working from the front to the back. I think I used the bigger punch needle for that, and I wanted it to be kind of like a tree stump that's a bit indented, so that's why I did it that way. But I'll show you how this works using some of this green. Now the key thing is to make sure that your thread that you use stays nice and sort of loose as you're doing it. Otherwise it doesn't sort of go into the fabric well. So you'll need, with your little punch needle, and that should come with one of these if you buy it, so you push your wire through from the bottom end, and then you put your thread that you want to use, pull it back down through your little device, and then you put your wire through this tiny little hole. Now this is really important. If your thread doesn't go through this hole, it's not going to work. A few times when I was first starting out at the retreat, I thought, oh, why isn't this working? And then went, haven't gone through the hole. I've gone through the hole there. Yep. So you use your wire to pull it through the hole. Don't know if these wires would help for threading needles as well. And so I'm just going to leave my ball of the wool down on the floor so that it can just sort of feed up onto this. For this one, I'm going to come through from the back. So this is what the back of it looks like. So as I mentioned with the brown, I was coming through from the front so that it got nice and compact. For this, the green, I'm coming from the back because this one gives pretty fine, tight little bobbles. And so what you want to do is just start punching in. This is why it's called punch needle. And you can really work in whatever way you want. You want to leave a bit of an end to start and you can always trim the ends off at the end, but you just don't want it kind of coming undone, because really these are just little loops that are going through the fabric, through this little mesh monk's cloth. I think it was called monk's cloth because the monks used to make it. I don't know if it was also used for their gowns. And sometimes it won't make it won't stay in, depending on what angle you have it, or if the tension's sort of not right and it's getting a bit of drag on the thread. But here you can see it's going in. I'll just turn it over to show you what it's looking like. Oh, I've managed to push a little one of this through, but that's okay. We can always stitch that down or do a bit more brown into that. Sorry, I'll just pull that one out and get back to going nice and tight. But yeah, this is just the perfect colour for some of that that moss. And as I say, I'm going to put other embellishments in, even beading. I've got little baubles. Where have they gone? These ones came from that lovely stash from Silk and Stitch, but obviously on the other side, but these could kind of nestle. Actually, let me just show you. Just turn it over. I was thinking stuff like this, maybe the smaller ones could just nestle down into some of this and look like little dewdrops caught in the sort of the ferny bits. So lots of possibilities. And things like this again will be great for creating like those little fungi. So just sort of nestling things into the piece. That's how it starts to build up. So this is really just our base. But it's great when your base can look that good already. Now I'm just going to loosen my ball of threads on the floor. Let's just check that I haven't created any issues. Nope. So again, this for me is very relaxing. Once you kind of get the process, it's enjoyable. I just put my ball's just getting a little bit caught up, so I'll just put it maybe down in my lap. Oops. So I've got a massive bag of wool, so I figured, yeah, I do need to get back to doing some texture work. And this is definitely a lot easier. And you see that on this occasion, it's not going properly into, for some reason, whether my tension's just wrong on my thread. It wasn't actually making the little... I think when Fleur was telling us, she said to kind of use that little sort of pointed end as your guide for the direction that you want to go. But it's just something you kind of just have to experiment with, and some threads won't go well through. They'll kind of get caught if they're a really fluffy one, so you just also have to sort of experiment with your fibres too. And I'll show you with some other fibres and using the larger one too. But yeah, I wasn't sure I was even going to use this little one that Dad had got, because I thought, oh, I'm not sure about the quality, but it's actually, yeah, it's a really good little one for when you want this sort of finer work. It'd be good if you're just using like a crochet yarn or just a regular sort of embroidery floss. And that's the great thing about punch needle. You can use all different textures, colours, fibres, threads. And thankfully it's not sort of too hard on your hands. So I tend to like to just sort of go back over an area. This, yeah, we will come back and probably anchor down that brown one. And don't worry if some come out like a little bit sort of longer or something. Yeah, I think it all just adds to the charm. So I think I'll just keep doing. We can keep going till this little ball runs out. And so I try and sort of do not even like rectangles, so you kind of want to have it sort of more natural shapes, and you can draw those on and then fill them in, or you can just kind of have in your head or just create them as you go. But yeah, if you find doing lots of knots a bit sort of like colonial knots or French knots a little bit tedious, this can be a great way to add that sort of almost knotted texture, but without having to do a million knots. And you can definitely work your way back sort of over an area that you've been over if you want to just kind of get a few more things in. So again, don't worry about those sort of bits that are sticking out. I think they kind of add to it. I will come back and anchor down my brown bit though, because I think I've also got to put a bit more brown down here also. So I might bring it up this side and have it sort of come in a bit of a, oops, what's happening there? So if it isn't sort of going into the fabric the way you want it to and holding, just sort of just check your thread's not getting caught up in where it's feeding from. So ideally you want quite a ball of yarn rather than sort of shorter lengths, because you want to just be able to keep going in a sort of continuous fashion ideally. I hope you're having a great day. It's a very rainy afternoon here on Saturday in Melbourne. Morning started okay, it was fine, but then as I was driving back, the weather forecast was saying the cold front is going to come through. We might even see snow on the Dandenong Ranges nearby, which is where this, an area where this bird might be with its little mossy and licheny nests. But obviously wouldn't be nesting at this time of year, too cold being winter here in Australia, but for many of you it's a warm time of year. So I'm getting sort of towards the end of my fibre, so we'll just keep going. Good just periodically to check the front and that it is kind of looking the way you want it to look. But as I say, just the base, and so you'll be adding things anyway. I mean, it was kind of amazing on this one. My base was all actually whites and neutrals because that's what Fleur had us working in, but there's only small areas where you can still sort of see the whites, because then there was so much embellishment that went over it. Oops, we didn't, not going in. Let's just try a different angle, and it's important to keep your monk's cloth quite tight. So it was a bit looser up at the corner there and helped as I tightened it up. Just sort of extend this out a bit. Oops, nope. Doesn't want to extend itself out. And you can just sort of, because it's not actually making it's just making little loops, it's quite easy to unthread any of it that you want to. I just wanted to make a more little sort of organic shape up here, not have it end on an actual line. You can still see it's a little bit in the shadow of the box hoop. So we're almost to the end of our thread, so I'll just let it use it all up. And I'm not too worried if the this end ends up on the front. I can always trim it, but if it ends up on the back, that's perfect as well. So I'll show you with this one. I don't think, I'm trying to remember if I had this one in this one or the other one. I think I was using my other one, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's see. The other one does make bigger sort of holes, so I'm not sure how well it will go back into it. So if I can get it to work in this one, it's probably going to be for the best. I've had a tickly little throat. I think it's been allergies this week because I'm not otherwise unwell. But it's been quite tickly, so I'm going to have a sip of tea. Hopefully you're joining me for a beverage, a refreshment. Visited Mum and Dad this morning. Dad's continuing to do pretty good. Still got some further investigations and things to do, but he is continuing to recover, so that is a relief. So I'll end up, because I'm going to come through, I think, from the front here, I'll end up taking that end off. And in fact, I might take it off now, and then I can kind of put some stitches or some little bobbles over the top. So yeah, I think I'll be able to use this one. And so yeah, here I'm working from the front because I do just want to, one, have the visibility, but two, just get the little knots really sort of quite tight and firm into the piece. So down here I'd missed a little area, so I'm going to just work my way down and put some extra ones in down here. Just to get it nice and fully. And it's really great because it's really sort of pulling this down like a little lump in the tree would actually be like. And I'm thinking I might even do another little hole up here as well, because often the mossy is broken up by other areas. Now there's another little bit of white sort of showing through up here, so I'm going to do a few more just little bits of my tree. And it doesn't even matter if the tree and the sort of green infiltrate a little bit, because in nature they do mess as well. It's definitely harder pushing through when you're pushing through fibres, but it's definitely doable. This has quite a pointy, I actually stabbed myself with it last night. I had my finger underneath and gave myself a little gash. Now I can see a bit more of the brown still sitting up here, so I'm just going to work on down. Just carefully working step by step. And if I couldn't get into this with, in fact it's not actually, because I think the tension's wrong, I've just got to pull a bit more thread. I can always come back with some stitches and anchor any little loopy bits down. But yeah, when we were doing the one at Fleur's with the bigger tool, we were always working from the back, but I've subsequently been playing around with how I can work also from the front and back of the piece. I was just trying to get my punch needle to go through. So I think that's probably fine. So I can just Stitchery that off. And as you can see, it's quite a bit more bobbly on the back. I think, yeah, when I was doing it last night, I was doing it with this bigger tool. That's why it's got the bigger bobbles are there. This was a tapestry wool that I used. I just used one whole because I've got quite a lot of tapestry wools from Alex's mum. And then this one was a beautiful hand dyed, and I think it must be like a maybe an Angora mix one, and it's all, yeah, beautiful variegation. So that kind of reminded me of some of the ferny little bits that you see. And then down here, I've been doing a little, I've got this massive roll again from either from the Reverse Art Chalk, but I think I might have got this one from the Embroiderers Guild as well, for like $1 or something, which is just crazy. But I've been using that to create this lovely sort of licheny nest. So I can show you, actually let's show you with the bigger tool. I don't want to run out of time. I was thinking, was I thinking I'd use this, or did I have another one I was thinking I would use across the top? Got this one. Thought I had another one. Can I see it? Has it run away? Has it gone somewhere? That's okay. If we can't find it, I will use what I have. I was just certain I had another ball of wool here, but maybe I did not. Just having a look on the floor. Nope, not down there. That's okay. So will we use? Because I was even sure I'd actually trialed it out. Just going to push my chair out and see if I have dropped the ball of wool down here that I can't see. No, that's not it, and that's not it. Mysteries of mysteries happen in my craft room, but that's okay. we'll roll with the punches. I'm looking down here too. No, not down there. Not there. I'm sure I will find it once I start going. I'm going to go, there it is. But that's okay. We'll improvise. Now, will I use this one, which is like a chenille-y sort of one? I think that could be kind of nice. Oh no, this was the one I was thinking of using, wasn't it? A different green and brown, but maybe I might do a bit of this one to start. Okay, so Fleur gave us a wire that she had made bespoke, because she said that she finds the smaller wires, you often lose them. I then put my own little bead, and I think this is meant to be for lead lighting. We'll see how we go with this one. It's quite thick, so we'll just have to see if it's going to stay in the piece. And I think I might work from the front, I think. So it's a big ball and I've got it sitting on the ground. So I might just, where do I want it? Maybe I'll put it in the centre. So as you can see, this makes bigger indentations, so I just want to take it a bit slow just to make sure I am actually getting it properly into the... Then I'll just loosen it up again and then work my way back. What I might do is I'll try and just sort of anchor down the end by putting some bobbles over it, and then I can probably trim it off when it's a bit... So I can probably trim that bit off. Just do a few more and then I'll show you what it looks on the back. And show myself as well, because I don't know what this one looks like on the back. So I could have probably worked from the back, but I kind of like it on this just because it is the bigger pincer. I like the fact that I can see what I'm doing. So again, I want to do less irregular shapes. I might end up bringing this mossy bit sort of to fill up that area. I don't want to have white, so I just need to kind of smush the two areas together. Smush, is that a good word to use or not? So yeah, I'm hoping these videos where I'm sharing some different techniques, they might be things that you can think about how you want to add them, if you want to add them to your sort of slow stitch pieces. But because my field notes pieces will be as a sort of standing up display, sort of fold out accordion style, I can have extra texture without problems because I'm not actually going to be having it folded up as a book. Just having a bit of trouble getting these ones to stick in, so I'm just going to might just undo those because it just didn't feel like those were properly. So you can see sometimes you sort of get a bigger little hole where it's harder to get it to anchor in, so it's sometimes good just to smooth your fabric a bit while you get that sorted out, and then just kind of work some into where you've already got some stitches, and that will just sort of give the fabric a bit of solidity. But yeah, this kind of looks like fungi or that sort of smaller lichen that's growing over the knobbly branch of the tree. So I think it will work quite well. So I think I'm just looking where my broader border, but as I say, I'm not too fussed. I can always fold around the back anything that's not required. I might continue this on over to this edge. I'll just work back through the area that I've been through. And then I'll just hold my fabric, just twist it up and keep it nice and tight and taut. So this one's an adjustable one and I've got it sitting on C. Sometimes I find when it's on D it sort of pops out. But because I'm working from the front, it's going to be quite compact anyway. If I was coming from the back and it was on A, then they would be quite big loopy bits. So I want to go a bit out beyond my border area, I think. And again, just not trying for regular shapes, trying to give something that's a bit more organic. Organic is the word. Because nature is organic. And it does tend to have clusters, colonies of things. So rather than just putting like a spot here and a spot there, I want to, as I go around the piece, be kind of having clusters of different communities of fungi and mosses and lichens. So if you do pull out a few, just smooth your fabric to kind of get the weave to sit back together. Make sure your thread is feeding okay. So a little bit more thought when you're using this bigger one, but really you can't go wrong. So that will be like that, and as I say, I think I'll end up having kind of having this nestled somehow into it and hanging down. I think I will end up adding a bit of text with my bird image as well. But that's that one. Just trying to see where my border is. Let me just check if it's there. Okay. Can't actually see where I drew it to up the top here, but that's okay. I can always work on that a bit. I suppose if I put this down, I'll be able to see if I can see down the bottom where this one is. Down to there. Okay, so it's actually across here. Actually, now I can see it, but I might just get my friction friction marker and mark it again. So it's somewhere sort of across here. And if it's somewhere across there, must be somewhere somewhere around there, up there. But we could come in, I'm wondering, I think I want to extend that one over, so we don't need to do that because you've already seen me doing quite a bit of this. I'm thinking I will show you using this one. Now, do I want to use my small tool? Will this work in it? Let's give it a go, because the small tool does give those very nice fine ones. And so I think it might be nice to have fine, given that these are the bolder ones. And obviously you need to thread it through your tool first before you thread it up. Oops, and my tool has let's pull this through first, and then we'll put our tool back together. Don't know if it is going to be too thick for it, this wool, but we shall see. The rain has stopped now, but it's still very grey out there. Okay, so I'm just going to let this ball fall down to the ground, and we'll see if it's going to work through this finer piece. And I should probably work from the back because I don't need to work from the front. And actually I wasn't going to, and it doesn't seem to be feeding through that well, so we might end up having to use our other one. Let's see if we can get it to, no, so that's one where it's because it's too big a gauge for this. We will need to use, sorry, just bashed you with my thumb. The other thing you can do is you can actually have combine multiple fibres. So if I wanted to, for example, I could bring in this variegated, will I use that or will I use something else? Hang on, let me just have a look at what else I've got here. I've got a nice, what's this one? I've got this one that's a nice mossy kind of more olivey green, so I might use that one. And it's just like, I think this is a pearl cotton. So again, and it gives a lovely effect when you combine actually a few different fibres. So I'll show you how that works too. And then, yeah, we can come down and do some of the really fine one from my huge roll. Okay, so I'll just give some nice pull. And again, I think I'll work through from the front just so that I can see what's actually happening. Right down next to my other stitches. But yeah, if you wanted loopier, and I can always come through from the back and put some more loopy ones in, but I do want this to kind of be sitting a bit more into the branch. So it's lovely. We'll get a bit more in so you can properly see, but yeah, I can already see that you're getting that beautiful variegation almost well, I mean the green and brown wool already has sort of two colours mixed in, but by adding the pearl cotton, you're getting that lovely olivey, khaki sort of colour. Oops, now I've just had some that hasn't, and again it's because on the floor they've kind of got the wrong tension in them, and I do have a little knot coming up here that I'm just going to address before it gets to my piece. So again, you can just smooth your fibres, and I do need to actually make sure that what I might do, I think, is, actually that's okay, I just want to make sure I don't catch the back piece of the monk's cloth. So I just need to be careful. Just want to do enough that you can kind of see what it's looking like. So again, I might just try and capture my pieces that are left on the front. I can always put them in a needle as well and take them to the back. That's what I might actually do, just to, it's probably a safer. Loosen up my ends again. I hope you can see that okay. I don't want to go down too low. Again, I'm not going to worry too much where I get an extra loop. It's all going to add interest. Probably should have repositioned the monk's cloth in the frame to do this bit, but just being lazy because these plastic guides on the side are quite tricky to pull off. Some more loopy bits just by my technique here, and probably because the fabric's a bit looser as well, but I'm going to embrace that, and I think that's going to add interest. Now I'm almost to the end of my wool, aren't I? Yes. So I can cut that shot and I can take that again through to the back with a needle, but that gives you a sense of, hopefully you can see that, just the interest, and you get that lovely little flash from the embroidery thread. So it doesn't take too long. You can get quite an area done in a time, but let's just jump down and let's find my tool. The other thing Fleur said is the reason she gave us bigger ones is because you often lose the other ones, and I've already dropped one of this smaller one onto the ground, reaching down to get it. Okay, so let's do some of this licheniness down here, but I am going to need to deal with my frame because it has become a bit loose. So this is, it's hard to pull off. Apparently over time it does get looser, but you don't want it too loose anyway. But you also don't want to be battling it. So what I mean, actually I'll show you this as well. What I mean when I say I'm going to take them through, I'm going to put them through a needle, if I can get them both through the eye of the needle, maybe not. Otherwise I can do it one by one. Take this one through first of all, and just put it through to the back, and then take this one through. Might need one of my bigger eyed needles. Have I got one here? No. Oh, actually, yes, I do. That one might work better. I'll take that through, and then likewise with this one. You just don't want to pull too much because, as I say, these are just little loops, so they will pull out, which is the benefit. If it doesn't work well and you need to kind of redo an area, you can absolutely do that. I might, just thinking, yeah, I'll take this one off. You get to see me battling with the box frame. I just want to give myself a bit more room down the bottom to do this next bit. So, just clipping that on. Clipping that bit on. So that's nice and tight and taut, which will help down here. Just get rid of my needle again. Find that one. Find my threading tool, and we'll be ready to roll. So I'll use my big old roll. I'll just make sure I've got a decent amount kind of rolling off it easily. In fact, I can probably put that on the ground as well and pull off. Yep, that will work well. That's what Fleur told us to do in class. Just put your wool on the ground and let it unravel as you need it. But yeah, it's just keeping that nice loose tension. Otherwise, your threads will pull out. Oops, can't find the eye. The wire is so fine that it kind of, yeah, almost looks like an optical illusion when you're trying to get it through. Or maybe it's just my eyes getting bad with age. I think it's that thing where your distance vision gets better. I know mine was getting better, but my my close-up was getting worse. Was I doing this? Yeah, I was doing this one from the back, I think. Sometimes when it sticks to my clothes or something, it doesn't, again, feed properly through. This is a very fine one, so I can just really do a lot of stabby stitches over the area and really kind of go into it. But yeah, do keep your finger out of the way, because I think, yeah, last night I managed to stab a finger that was underneath, and this one is very sharp. It was only a superficial wound, but it was a bit of a like, oh, okay, now I have to wrap it up. I don't want to have blood on, don't want to leave too much DNA on my piece. It's meant to be a nature journal, not a medical journal. Although I'm sure there are field notes, vintage field notes or antique field notes, where there might be a little injury sustained, someone picking up a stick and cutting themselves or something. So I do just need to keep these endy bits out of the way. Do a bit more, then we'll have a look how it's looking on the front. But yeah, great way to use up some, if you've got lots of wools. I don't think they even have to be wools. If they're synthetics, I'm sure you can still use those as well. It's just having one that will fit in the whatever size tool you've got for needle. Not for needle felting, for punch needling. This is very relaxing because it's not at all precision. I'll just loosen it again, make sure I've got a good tension on it. Well, not a tension, a good looseness on it. No tension is what it needs. Okay, let's have a look how it's looking on the front. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that adds a really cool little texture. So I can do a little bit more. Better not keep you past the hour though. But yeah, my plan is to keep working around. I'll go back to my bag and see what other sort of fibres and things I have to play with for the punch needling. But yeah, we'll be coming back in a future episode to then start embellishing, I guess. I'll probably get the frame done, because you probably don't need to watch another punch needling session, and then we can work on using some existing embellishments, but then maybe we can have a go at making some air dry clay ones as well. Could be fun. And I have shown in a previous video, but I can always do it again, how to make my little fungi. I might make some yellowy orangey ones, because I have been seeing a lot of yellow orange fungi lately. So I'll stop this one here, I think, because I'll probably then extend this one around and down in the frame, but I'll take that one off there and give you a look at that. So yeah, it's great. I've also got a big roll of a whitey one. I did try that just before, and it was definitely catching in the little one because it's a bit more bobbly, but even ones like this can be great to kind of couch down into the fabric after you're done, so I'm sure I'll find a use for that. But yeah, I think I'll turn that one into another hole in the tree. I'll need to stitch a few bits of that down, but I can also come through and put some other little clusters, intersperse them in. I'll need to, I think I'll extend the green around there. I'll find another one similar to this that I can or maybe a totally different colour that can come around here, maybe sort of down there. So in fact, let me even sort of draw. So I was thinking maybe something that would come down. If that one's going to come down here, maybe something can also extend up to wherever it needs to extend up over here. Bring it down like that maybe. And then something else down here. And then maybe we can have another hole in the sort of tree down here, and then some more moss, and then maybe a bit more branchiness, but maybe I'll use one like this. So I hope that has been inspiring, interesting, maybe given you a little flavour of something that you might want to try. I don't think the tools are particularly expensive. This one's a SKC, as I mentioned. Fleur included it. Dad got this one, I think, from one of those Chinese sites. So I generally don't buy from them because I do like to support local. I'm not sure where this one's made, but have a look if you are interested. And a great way to use old balls of wool's fibres. I've got this one as well, which could be lovely. I'm not sure how it will go through because it's got these almost like little bullion knots, but again, I could use it afterwards to stitch in and add knots. And again, even down here where I got some more bobbly pieces, that's great because it just adds extra interest, whether I leave it that way or put some extra like stitches or wrapping around them. It's all about the texture. Just love it. Love. Okay, thanks everyone for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.